If something smells fishy, it's probably COD. As you may know, COD is the acronym for Call of Duty. Now, I'd say my joke here is a little cheesy, but as you already know, fish and cheese don't mix. Alright, enough puns. Time to get serious. Let me start by asking you if you've heard of the 4 leading developers of the Call of Duty franchise. I'm going to begin here and explain how they're involved. Back in the 1970s, Activision was making games for the original Atari. The company became one of the first successful distributors of video games, and lo and behold, after many successful years, Activision basically becomes a kind of parent in the video game industry looking to add a few children. Let me explain. In 2001, Activision purchased the video game developer Treyarch. Just 2 years later, Activision gets a taste for some COD. It purchases Infinity Ward, the original creator of Call of Duty, just 1 day after the game's release. Finally, Activision adds the developer Sledgehammer Games to the list to complete triumvirate of acquisitions. So together, Treyarch, Infinity Ward, and Sledgehammer Games are now the child companies of Activision. I hope this is making sense, but let's continue the saga. Now, each child company here has its assets. Infinity Ward is responsible for the creation of games like Call of Duty Ghosts and the Modern Warfare series, and Treyarch is the maker of Call of Duty World at War and the Black Ops series. And at long last, Sledgehammer Games becomes the co-developer of Modern Warfare 3 and is solely responsible for the recent game, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. This is all very interesting, but what about the games? For the past 12 years, they have released a game every year around November. That's 14 games since 2003, sometimes being so ambitious as to release 2 a year, as in 2012 and 2013. I guess that's what 3 children do for you. It would be almost impossible for me to make a compact review about each game, so I'm going to talk about general improvements and flaws. Keep in mind that this review could be mostly subjective, but my goal is to remain as objective to the topics as possible. What is the first thing you see when loading up a Call of Duty game? Is it A, multiplayer, B, campaign, or C, zombies? Think you know? Here's the answer. If you chose choice B, campaign mode, then you are correct. On the main menu, the campaign is one of the first game modes you'll encounter. It sets the game's overall theme and introduces new game mechanics. For instance, Advanced Warfare's campaign set a futuristic tone and familiarized players with the exosuit. If the campaign doesn't deliver a positive experience, it casts an ugly shadow on the rest of the game. Has Call of Duty consistently given us solid campaigns? It's time to do some research.
So fired up, let's do this!
Okay, game on. Watch and learn.
Fortunately, Call of Duty has featured a long cast of prestigious actors and singers in their games, especially in the campaigns. Some of my favorite actors being Ice Cube as Bowman in Black Ops, Jason Statham as Sergeant Waters in Call of Duty, Lance Henriksen as Shepard in Modern Warfare 2, and Kevin Spacey as Jonathan Irons in Advanced Warfare. As for the vocalists, Eminem's Survival and the Rolling Stones' Sympathy for the Devil, in my opinion, really stood out in the campaigns and did a good job at establishing the mood.
Wasn't ready to be no millionaire. I was ill prepared. I was prepared to be ill though. The skill was there. In the beginning, it wasn't about the ends. It was about busting raps and standing for something.
Allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth.
Now, every good story has protagonists and antagonists. Most games have a hard time delivering characters that have a human feel to them, but not Call of Duty.
Tomorrow, there will be no shortage of volunteers, no shortage of patriots. I know you understand.
In the Modern Warfare and Black Ops series, admirable characters like Captain Price, Alex Mason, John McTavish or Soap, Simon Riley or Ghost, and Frank Wood showed how good voice acting and character models can portray a realistic tone to video games. Additionally, villains like Makarov, Menendez, and Vork made gamers everywhere wet their pants. In other words, when game characters experience pain and you do too, the game must be doing something right, no? Like come on, you'll feel that shudder when you and Ghost burn together. And now without further ado, we'll discuss the infamous yet fun multiplayer. We'll take on the crude stuff, the hackers, and everything from weapons to battlefields to leveling up.
The gunship continuing to lay down shots in front of him to clear a path for him. But the Remington kill is going to come through there. He's got two in his sights, able to pick up one, and makes it another one. Silent grenade on a
Let's talk about multiplayer weapons. Shall we start with the basics? Call of Duty is a first-person shooter, or FPS, and every FPS should have an army of weapons for the picking. Since the beginning, Call of Duty weapons have been categorized by one of the three following distinctions: primary weapons, secondary weapons, and equipment. For primary weapons, players choose from assault rifles, shotguns, light machine guns, sniper rifles, specials like the assault shield, and submachine guns, while secondary weapons include pistols, launchers, and specials like the crossbow or ballistic knife. Finally, the equipment category has the lethal and tactical weapons varying from grenades to flashbangs. In addition to weapons, the battlefield needs to make sense. From game to game, Call of Duty continues to introduce players to new maps, new atmospheres, and more obstacles. One thing they've gotten right is making sure that the maps adapt to changing game mechanics and movements. For instance, Call of Duty Ghosts added more choke points that appeal to wall leaning, while Advanced Warfare added higher buildings only accessible with boost jump, giving it a more parkour feel. Whew, finally, we are nearing the end of the multiplayer discussion. We've talked about Call of Duty's audience, weapons, and multiplayer maps, but we haven't gone over the leveling system and the kill streaks. Surprisingly, the leveling system is ingenious and allows players to rank up by completing challenges, scoring points in-game, and in Advanced Warfare, sell weapons for XP. When you reach the max level, you are given the option to restart, called prestiging, so that you can begin anew with a higher level in the hopes of reaching Prestige Master, the best rank in the game. As you level up, you earn various weapons to use in combat that have their own leveling system. If you were to continually use a weapon, you would unlock new attachments that improve its effectiveness and unlock weapon skins like the diamond camo. Not to blow one's horn, but this does up your swag factor. So what about the kill streaks? When at the multiplayer lobby, you could choose from a long list of score streaks. As the name suggests, you must reach a certain score without dying to be rewarded with a selected score streak. Score streaks can be a game changer if your team is losing, or they just might ensure your inevitable victory. Use a UAV to spot enemy players, plant a turret to block an entrance, fire a laser from the sky to annihilate your opponents, or climb into a robot suit and truly become the Terminator. All of these creative killing weapons are just one shot away. On November 11th, 2008, Activision released Call of Duty World at War to the public. I remember driving to the store and buying the game myself, expecting to play a normal multiplayer shooter. Then all of a sudden I was stricken with disbelief. Zombies. It took me a moment to collect my thoughts, and then I asked the question everyone else was wondering. Why? This time around, zombie fanaticism was at a high, and Call of Duty was happy enough to jump on the bandwagon. Watching from a distance, Treyarch hopes the news is received well. Luckily, Call of Duty struck gold, and zombie lovers everywhere, including me, were overjoyed. In my opinion, it was exactly what Call of Duty needed, a secondary game mode where players can take a break from shooting people online and switch over to zombies. In the future, other Call of Duty games would follow in World at War's footsteps and launch other game modes, namely being Survival Mode, Mission Mode, and Extinction. I'm sure you guys are dying to hear about Call of Duty Zombies. In Call of Duty Zombies, you must battle against hordes of the undead. Depending on what map you're playing, you could be in the middle of a snowstorm or worse, lava. A whole world covered in lava. The idea of the game is to survive wave after wave of zombies. You have the option of working with 3 other players who can help you navigate through the map and collect supplies. When players kill zombies, they earn points to spend at their own discretion. These points can be traded in for weapons, Coca-Colas, or even access to other parts of the map. Better yet, gamble the rest of your points for something random in the mystery box. Just don't get the teddy bear. As you progress farther into the game, zombies become more aggressive and pose a greater threat. Thankfully, some zombies drop power-ups and improve your chances of survival. So it's been a long road. We went all the way back to the 70s to begin the conceptions of the COD franchise, and then we took it all the way to the latest Advanced Warfare game in 2014. I think you might agree that the franchise is a strong, long-running one, and if you like continuing sagas and series, then this is the franchise to keep an eye on. We've reviewed game modes, weapons, maps, hackers, leveling systems, and more. With 14 games and counting, I'm sure we could expect more. But keep an eye on these fundamentals. They are the best indication of the past, present, and probably future. I for one am hoping for more zombies. I think these will keep me on the COD fishhook a little longer.